Mark Carney's conflict of interest issue just continues to get worse and worse.
Has the Prime Minister provided you with a full list of all of his investments with Brookfield?
No.
How are you able to, do you have the list?
The list, I have the list that is, I'm as the administrator to the wall, the ethical wall. I am responsible for the administration of the wall as agreed upon by the Commissioner of Ethics and the Prime Minister. So the list that I obey from is the Annex A to the public declaration made by the Prime Minister.
So do you have full visibility on all of the investments in the Global Transition Fund and all of Brookfield's investments?
As I said, the Commissioner of Ethics and the Prime Ministers have agreed that actually the appropriate measures for the Prime Minister upon his election was two things: that he would divest of his investments through a blind trust, and that actually, as an additional preventive measure, an ethical wall would be set up. And there's a list at the Annex A of the companies that actually are, in a preventive way, could be the object of a wall if necessary.
A couple of things, sir. First of all, when Canadians hear that the Prime Minister has divested, I think that what they expect is that there's been a sale of those controlled assets. I appreciate that within the laws it's currently written that placing them in a blind trust satisfies that requirement, as that's what the Ethics Commissioner has said. However, the funds like the Global Transition Fund and future payments to Mr. Carney based on the performance of Brookfield create a scenario where it seems to me that the only way you could effectively ensure that the Prime Minister isn't making decisions that benefit Brookfield or himself financially would be for you to have the full list of the investments and interests in the Global Transition Fund and in Brookfield's portfolio.
I'll just refer you to a comment made by Nigel Wright in front of this committee, and Nigel Wright, who was the Chief of Staff of the Prime Minister, and where similar measures were applied in his case. There were actually, he had to divest of his assets in a blind trust, and there were 40 companies that were screened in that context. It's kind of the similar measures that we see here. And at the time, Mr. Wright, who became the Chief of Staff of Prime Minister Harper, said, he talked about his blind trust and about the blind trust. He said that the blind trust follows a form that was created and drafted by the Ethics Commissioner, as in the case of the Prime Minister here. He said, I transferred all of my control assets in the blind trust in late October. The blind trustee is the legal owner of them all now, and I'm not to have any communication of any sort, no direction, no advice, no information about what's in there. I do not know and will not know what's in there. Once a quarter, I'll be told what the value of it is. So he said there's a direct link between the Ethics Commissioner and the blind trustee, so that the Ethics Commissioner office will have the ability to know what's going on. But the purpose of the blind trust is to remove me and any knowledge I may have about my controlled investments and have them administered by a third party. It's exactly the same kind of situation that you have with Prime Minister Carney.
If I may, sir, I appreciate that it may be similar, but the Chief of Staff to the Prime Minister is not the Prime Minister. And the Chief of Staff to the Prime Minister does not have the ability to take the decisions and does not have the influence that the Prime Minister has. The situation also appears to be different because with Brookfield's investments in, all of the things that the government is committing major government spending to, whether it's artificial intelligence or modular housing or heat pumps, the Prime Minister's future payments depend on Brookfield's performance. And that's not something that's going to be sold by the trustee. That's something that went in and something that's going to come out looking the same way. The Prime Minister knows what he put into and what the investments were of Brookfield when he was chair at Brookfield Asset Management. He created the funds that he's going to benefit from based on their performance. Canadians are the ones who are in the dark about the decisions that the Prime Minister is taking and how they're going to impact his potential future compensation. So it's a lack of transparency that gives rise to this concern. And my recommendation, I don't come with a problem without a proposed solution. And would you not say that in this situation, it would give Canadians the confidence that they can have that the decisions aren't being taken with the perception of personal financial gain if the Prime Minister, if anyone holding the office of Prime Minister were to divest it by selling before taking decisions instead of placing them in a blind trust where they're still able to know what they put in.
We're gonna have to come back to that, Mr. Blanchard. Mr. Barrett, I invite you to ask that question again in a later round.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Blanchard. Mr. Carney's conflicts involving Brookfield are vast by any objective standard. That is why the Ethics Commissioner saw fit to impose special compliance measures, including the ethics screen that you, along with Mr. Sabia, administer, which includes, of course, 103 companies, most of which are Brookfield related. Mr. Sabia, in his testimony yesterday before this committee, referenced that the Ethics Commissioner personally told Mr. Carney that he should not be meeting with Brookfield. Yet on August 11th, only 1 month after the ethics screen was put in place, Mr. Carney was speaking with and taking photos with Sam Pollock, who is none other than the CEO of Brookfield Infrastructure, and who also just happened to serve on the board of Brookfield Asset Management when Mr. Carney was chair. So here we have the Ethics Commissioner telling Mr. Carney not to meet with Brookfield, and 1 month later, Mr. Carney is doing precisely that. How do you explain that, Mr. Blanchard?
Le Premier ministre du Canada est bien au courant de ses
The Prime Minister of Canada is well aware of his ethical requirements, and he follows them, each and every one of them. What was done by the Prime Minister, and after talks with the Ethics Commissioner, we implemented these rigorous measures to ensure that there are no conflicts of interest.
The Prime Minister was told specifically not to meet with Brookfield, and there he is meeting with Brookfield. Back up before that to April 30th, just 2 days after the federal election. According to the Lobbyist Registry monthly communication report, Mr. Carney was directly lobbied by North River Midstream Incorporated. Now, the Lobbyist Registry indicates that North River Midstream Incorporated, the parent company, is none other than Brookfield. So again, we have the Prime Minister directly meeting, being directly lobbied, this time on energy policy, by Brookfield. Again, not following the spirit of the ethics screen.
Il y avait des mesures éthiques qui étaient mises en place.
There were ethical measures that had been implemented at that time. Between the moment where the Prime Minister became Prime Minister in March up until the conclusion of the measures that have been in place since July 10th. What I'm saying is, I believe that the Prime Minister met his ethical obligations during the period of time that you referenced. And since July 10th, the companies identified... Can you let me finish my answer, please?
I'm taking my
Mr.
time
Cooper,
back.
go ahead.
Then, on September 27th, while in London, England, Mr. Carney attended an intimate working breakfast with Canada's High Commissioner to the UK, Ralph Goodale, and 8 international investors. 4 of the 8 investors present were from companies that have major connections to none other than Brookfield. Just another coincidence? It seems to me to be part of a pattern. Brookfield, Brookfield, Brookfield.
Dans ce contexte-là, en fait, je pense.
I believe that Canadians are quite pleased that the Prime Minister and can meet with some of the greatest investors in the world. These are not businesses that are linked with Brookfield. These are independent investors. They are among the most significant companies, and we are seeking to reach investors in Canada.
You
I
had
would
equal
submit-
time, Mr. Blanchard. I'm
Point
going
of
to
order,
go to
Chair.
Mr. Cooper.
Point of order.
What's your point of order,
The
Mr.
point of order is that as MPs, we need to allow the witness to answer the question.
The
The member
witness
has
had
asked
ample time
a
to
similar
answer
question
the
multiple times,
question.
and it's not allowed
It's
the
not-
witness to answer.
The witness had ample time to answer the question. I didn't stop your clock. I'm going to add another 25 seconds to your time. I gave Mr. Blanchard ample time to answer the question. Mr. Cooper, it's your time. You have 45 seconds.
Well, you know, we've heard various excuses, various explanations offered. Technically, the screen might not have applied in these cases. Technically, there might not have been a direct conflict of interest. There's always some sort of explanation. But wouldn't it be better if the Prime Minister simply heeded the advice of the Ethics Commissioner and stayed the hell away from Brookfield? Wouldn't that be better?
Alors, est-ce que je peux répondre, Monsieur le Président?
15 seconds.
Can I respond, Chair? I just wanted to tell you, for all of the meetings in London, the measures were implemented and there were no issues with those meetings because these are among the most significant investors in the world and they're not directly linked with Brookfield. Thank you.
From Mark Carney meeting with high-class figures to investing in new projects, it literally sounds like every single thing ties back to Brookfield. And at this point, I don't know why anybody would trust a single thing coming from him or his colleagues. Anyway, I want to know what you think down in the comment section below. Hit that like button, hit that sub button if you are new, and thank you very much for watching.